Hey everyone, welcome to the moon forecast video for the full moon we have coming up in Aries. It's happening on September 29th at 2:57 a.m. if you're in the Pacific Standard Time. If you're in Eastern, it's happening at 5:57 a.m. So just go ahead and adjust it for whatever time period you're in or time zone you're in. I'm Kendall with the Bohemian Tarot Girl. This is my co-host Amy. Amy, give a shout out to yourself.
Hi, I'm Amy. I'm an intuitive energy coach and moon circle leader. And yeah, so
Good
getting
moon.
ready for the full moon, as we do every month. So thank you for joining us with that. Um, yeah, this full moon is happening in Aries, and it's at 6 degrees of Aries, and the sun is at 6 degrees of Libra. So that creates this opposition effect that we have between these opposing signs. Um, and
Very opposing signs.
I know. And we also we've been talking about kind of like this Aries and Libra opposition for a little bit because the nodes have recently shifted into Aries and Libra as well. So we're kind of getting a little boost from the sun and the moon, kind of highlighting the same um, energies that these nodes have had, which are going to affect us for 18 months. And so when we're looking at this, I mean, Aries is all about the individual, and it's about freedom and movement and action and just being really direct and decisive. And then we have Libra coming in with the sun energy, and it's about partnership and being really contemplative and considering all options and making sure that things are fair and balanced for all involved and not just doing what you want on your own. So we're kind of looking at this moon and looking at both aspects of that and how they can um, complement each other instead of just kind of like clashing views. Because there is a middle ground to be found, which is a very Libra-like thing to say.
Yes, that's a good point. gotta
There's a
gotta use
lot
that Libra energy right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of Libra energy with this moon, and there's a lot of Aries energy. As we have like some outside asteroids and some, the nodes involved, and not necessarily planetary energy, but there is some energetic influence that is really prominent between these two signs right now, kind of creating this dynamic of um,
Yes.
how to figure out things for yourself, but also be aware of what is needed in the long run at the best interest of everybody else involved. So,
Yep. When I think about it as pressure. And I feel like you have this conflicting energy and it's of what you need versus what you want, right? And so that in itself has a tendency to be a little bit of, butting heads, that sort of thing. And so when I think about this energy, I kind of think about it almost we're experiencing this, um, event with the financial or the government trying to decide, are they going to go ahead and roll through the spending so they can keep paying people, and here they are kind of fighting it out right in the last minute to see if they're going to push that through or if they're going to take it for a little bit longer and try to work on it. And so that's really what I kind of feel like this moon is all about, is really really what's going on in our our world as we're seeing it in the news. We have these people who are trying to help and make some changes, and they're pushing that agenda for themselves. And you also have the conflicting interests of just the people who work in the government and the stuff that they need, and they need to get paid, all that sort of thing. So I have a feeling a lot of people are going to be experiencing that in their life. In general, it might lead you, if you are one of these, people experiencing this conflict, it might lead you to learn how to create in a different way. So if you are experiencing it, if you're experiencing some pressure or pushback during this time in regards to your love life, life in general, finances, especially those sort of pieces, your self image, then those are the pieces that you want to look at to see if there are stuff that you need to come in and clear and change during this time. So That's what I that's really what this moon to me. I have a feeling there's gonna be some things coming up because it's that last part of that cycle before we start over with the new solar eclipse on October 14th. So there's this 6-month cycle that's kind of coming to a close, and there's some last energy that's probably gonna create a little bit of you know, a little bit of a upset to some people,
Mhm.
but you gotta
Yeah.
look at it.
There is a lot of creative energy happening with this moon. And I mean, because Aries is, the very first sign of the zodiac, and it's usually about new beginnings and starting something fresh and seeing something with new eyes, and getting excited about like the journey that you're about to go on. I know I've said it before, but I always think of Aries as like the fool. And you don't know where you're going yet, but you're excited to be starting out. And so
Mhm.
there's a lot of that energy, and you might have really great ideas about what you want to create, or things that you want to do, or what you want to bring in to your life. But there's also like this delayed effect, because we also have Mars, which is, ruled by Aries, or Aries is ruled by Mars. I always say that backwards. I don't know why I can't get that straight. So Aries is ruled by Mars, and that's where it's most comfortable. And here it is sitting in Libra, which is the exact opposite and the exact opposite energy. And it's furthest away from its home sign, and it's really uncomfortable there. And there's not a lot of action that's happening. There's a lot of delays that can go on. It's very, wants to, like we said, very contemplative and discerning and weighing out all the options. And so Mars is not used to that kind of energy, and it doesn't like it. Um, but it's also like kind of hinting that, okay, it might not be the right time to put things into action yet. But that's going to be shifting. And we do have a lot of big changes coming up with that solar eclipse that you talked about. And that's going to be closing out the cycle that started at the eclipse that we had in the end of April,
Yeah.
April 20th.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
I think it was
It
like
was
April 20th
around
or 21st, right around there. Um, and so there's going to be a lot of fresh energy coming in, and a lot more forward movement happening. So I think that this moon in particular is just looking at, okay, what is ending, what maybe needs to be reevaluated, what are you being inspired to move towards, but
Mhm.
taking the time to really make sure that it's has all the right elements, and it's in the best interest of not only yourself, but everyone else involved
Yes,
may be affected by it.
I
So,
totally agree. I think that's the biggest really point that people should be aware of. I have a feeling, there might be people that are ready to jump and kinda really break down and dissolve certain things during this time period, and really you need to take a step back and really make sure that that's the path that you wanna go on, or if you want to break that right at this moment, right? It might come down later in life. This might be something that's gonna be showing you what's coming up in the future and maybe some choices that you're gonna have to make, but at this moment, it's just you sitting back and reflecting and make sure that you're going down the path that you want right at this moment. So don't feel all that anxious energy that you have to make huge changes right now in this moment. Take a step back. Don't let that crazy energy get you. So,
oh yeah, there
especially,
can be Aries energy can have a tendency to make you want to kind of like burn everything to the ground, and that's
yes.
probably not the best plan of action for this time, because things will start to make sense again, and there will be a clearer picture of how to go about doing this in the best way.
Yes.
We are, headed towards new beginnings. And again, like this moon, we've talked about this in other videos, is that there's always seems, I mean, full moons are generally about releasing and letting go and getting ready to move into something new. And so much of the energy this year has been about both endings and beginnings at the same time. And so it feels kind of conflicting, uh,
Mhm.
because you have to make sure that you're letting go of the right things, and that you're starting the right
Yeah.
things. And
That's
it's
that pressure.
yeah, there's a lot of pressure, a
Mhm.
lot of shifting, and upheaval. And then, of course, we have Uranus getting involved.
Yep.
Um, and Venus, because Venus has been a big player because it did go retrograde in Leo for an extended period of time. It is still in Leo for I think until like October 4th or 5th. So it like went through Leo and then when it retrograded, it backtracked through Leo and now it's going through Leo again, retracing all of its steps. And while it's been doing that, I mean, not only with the retrograde did you have all of that time that you were kind of having lessons around love and self-worth and inner child healing and all of that, but it also was squaring Uranus and Taurus during that time. So we're going to be hitting that Uranus square in Taurus for a third time. Um, and now that you've kind of worked through, or hopefully you've had the opportunity to work through some of your self-worth and self, like your inner resolve and your self-love and all of that, there's going to be kind of just less shakeup in that. Or if there are shakeups coming that may kind of trigger that again, you'll have a better sense of yourself and all of the lessons that you learned over the past retrograde that you can kind of like sit in that and feel a little more empowered with whatever is shifting in that area.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think that during this time, it is giving us empowering energy because we're going to kind of see that future snapshot of what potentially could happen, who we potentially could be. And so this is our chance, like right now, where we can like emotionally take a deep breath and be like, okay, I'm seeing where my future might lead. Is this good? Do I feel aligned? Where do I feel hesitancy? And so it's that moment where we can actually process some things. We can do some learning involved, and we can kind of avoid that conflict energy that is going on. Because at this point, we're just being shown something like almost like a quick snapshot, is what I would say, of what the possibilities are. And it's can be painful and it can be eye-opening, but we just have to take a step back and realize that there's still a little bit of time for the shift. And I think that's the most important part, not to leap through the process and burn all those bridges, but know that this is potentially something that's coming up for you.
Oh yeah. And Uranus, that's its job. It has the energy of upheaval and surprises and shakeups and,
Yeah.
you know, excitement and maybe not the kind of excitement that you want because we all have those areas in our lives where we really like things to be predictable and stable and comfortable. Um,
Yep.
so yeah.
My
So,
Libra self says yes.
but the point of Uranus going through and doing all of that is because it's ultimately trying to move you onto a different course that may be better for you. It's really a benevolent planet. It's not here to make your life miserable, but it really has to do with how comfortable you are with dealing with the shakeup. And so it's squaring Venus right now. It's going to have, hopefully you've gained some wisdom in that part of your life that you're not going to be as affected by whatever shakeups may come your way in regards to um, love and money and comfort and security and that kind of thing. So,
Yep. It's very much this. I was reading about it. It's a learning energy, and it's considered the Venus, Mars, Uranus lineup that we have going on. It's considered like a learning triangle, and so it's really about utilizing those energies to make sure that you're putting yourself right on that path. So it can feel a little bit shocking, but it's really meant for us to grow and really prosper and develop those skills that we need and get ourselves where we need to go. So I think that's the most important part is making sure that we're using it as a learning opportunity right now and that we're not wasting this time. So,
mhm.
and there's no, this one that I looked at and I thought there'd be for sure some planetary aspects to the moon, and there was not. So it has some interesting empty energy alongside the moon because it's all about that Aries energy, right? There's nothing else really coming and conflicting with that moon energy. So the Aries energy is super strong with this moon. It's right at the beginning. And so making sure that you're really keeping yourself on that path where you're not going so far into that Aries energy when you're clearing away the last of it is probably my most important takeaway from this moon is to really make sure that I avoid the explosions and destructions that that energy can cause me and I focus a little bit more on for me myself that Libra energy but also the energy that is just being brought in with that sun energy. So,
Mhm. Yeah, you might have things come up where you feel like you want to react impulsively, but it's not the best time to
mhm,
actually act impulsively. So just kind
right.
of, take a step back, breathe, let a couple days pass or a week or until the next moon and just kind of like reflect and
Yep.
mull things over for a little while. The other thing that I noticed with this moon or this time shortly after the moon is that Mercury's getting kind of like hit with a few different aspects.
Mhm,
Um, Mercury had its retrograde at the beginning of September and in August, and September. And so it's kind of like moving over the territory that it had retrograded. And so it's still in Virgo at this time. And coming up, it's going to be, trying that Uranus and Taurus that we were talking about. Um, and so you might have bursts of, some kind of exciting news or um, sudden, exciting um, ideas or sparks of creativity or something that is like, oh wow, I really want to do this, or this is really good, or something that's going to come in that's just kind of like shake things up for you that you're really excited about. But then shortly after that, Mercury travels along its path, and then it is going to oppose Neptune in Pisces.
mhm,
And Neptune and I mean, Neptune and Pisces, it's like what's hidden and what's not, what's in secret and what might have some kind of disillusionment to it. And so you might receive some information about that thing you're excited about where it kind of like all falls apart. Um,
mhm,
and that can feel really disappointing and kind of throw you off course a little bit. But then, of course, Mercury is going to continue on its path, and then it's going to trine Pluto, which is in Capricorn. And Pluto in Capricorn is a very solid, sturdy, focused, um, concrete energy. It's there's it's a very good building energy. And so when Mercury trines Pluto, it could be that there is some other idea or inspiration or news that comes in that is much better than the initial news that you were excited about when it was in your hand. So just pay attention to that if it feels like you kind of have the wind knocked out of your sails when it hits that that Uranus or that Neptune and Pisces. Like, don't worry because it's just shifting things around for something better to
yep.
come in.
And just remember that that energy is coming after this full moon. So that's in that time period between the solar eclipse. And so things are just going to be kind of shifty up until that solar eclipse time period. So I think we'll see a little bit more interesting changes as we come into that solar eclipse time. So just pay attention to what's coming up that feels like you are ready to change and make some shifts in your life and just pay attention to those. You don't need to really explode and blow everything up now, but there might be some opportunities coming up for you. So I think that's the most important part.
If something does come in that seems too good to be true, like really explore that and make sure that you have all of the information before rearranging your whole life to
Yeah.
include whatever that information is. Um, it's just this, there could be a lot of emotion or feelings around being super impulsive, especially if something seems really good.
Yes.
So just kind of this is why all of this energy kind of is a good mirror for itself. Like, just wait a little bit and make sure that you're paying attention and have your eyes open. Um,
Yes.
so.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. And we will see you for the new moon coming up in October. I hope everyone has a great full moon, and we'll see you next time.